It's been 2 years. We're tired. We're burnt out. We're just trying to get by. But today is the day. It's time to reclaim your rhythm. Pick your playlist and put on your favorite red look. With your jams turned up, get moving. Bring the good vibes and take back control of your health and mental well-being. Little steps add up to big changes. From dancing with your kids in the kitchen to grooving with your girlfriends, staying active is one of the best ways to keep your body and mind healthy. Stress can lead to unhealthy habits, and managing stress means managing your health. So reclaim control of your schedule and build in time to invest in a healthier you. Know your numbers and make moves to help keep your blood pressure on track. Go Red for Women will be here every step of the way. So let's do this together and create healthy habits today that will lead to healthier tomorrows. How will you reclaim your rhythm?
Hi, I'm Nancy Brown, Chief Executive Officer of the American Heart Association. Happy Heart Month. We are so excited to have you with us today as we celebrate the heritage of women and their struggle with heart disease. We have an incredible lineup for you today as we think about reclaiming our rhythm, which is the focus of Heart Month this year. We know that women are underrepresented in research studies and that much more knowledge needs to be gained to help all women have an equal opportunity to live long and healthy lives. And today we are going to have a discussion about the opportunities in research and the power of partnerships in helping women as they face their heart health. This past year has been an incredible year. So many of us have had the opportunity to think carefully about our health and well-being, and today we will arm you with some wonderful tips and information that you can use during Heart Month and beyond. We have an incredible panel with us today, and I'm delighted now to turn things over to my dear friend, my co-host, and the American Heart Association's national volunteer, Star Jones. Star, of course, has been an advocate and a supporter ever since her heart incident, and of course she is an attorney, an advocate, and a powerful voice for women everywhere. Star, welcome, and let me turn it to you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Boy, what an honor it is for me to be here with you and all these amazing panelists today. February and American Heart Month is very personal to me. It's such a special time of year. One, I get to wear red for all the days of the month. But for getting the word out to women everywhere is really what it's about for me. The word that heart disease is your number one threat, period. It's my way of giving back. I think it's my purpose for being on this earth. It's my mission in life. So yeah, over a decade ago, I became the face of heart disease when I underwent open heart surgery. So I took a big challenge that was in my life and tried to turn it into a positive to try to educate and inspire and empower women to take control of their own health. And so I'm excited to be joined today with another, what we call heart sister, a very special guest, sister in heart disease survivor, journalist and Fox Sports NFL sideline reporter, Hale. Jen, thank you so much for joining me.
I wouldn't have missed it. Thank you for having me.
So, sister, we are, as we like to say, heart disease survivors and thrivers.
Thrivers, amen.
And, you know, it's interesting to me because I found out that your journey with cardiovascular disease is not necessarily new because you had a family history of heart disease, just like me, though, you know, I was the big dummy. I didn't think it could affect me. Okay, we raising our hands right there. But your personal journey started just a few years back. Would you mind sharing your story?
Absolutely. So my father, my grandfather, and my uncle all died of heart attacks before the age of 50.
My Lord.
We thought that at that time, heart attacks, smoking, drinking, eating fried food, that it was a lifestyle choice.
Mm-hmm. An old dude's disease.
An old dude, absolutely, absolutely. So my mom, my sister, and I worried about my brother and his future. Never imagined that that could affect the females. That was my first mistake. Secondly, I was not educated about all the different types of heart disease. And we chalked up the males in my family, their deaths to heart attacks. Actually, going back through the notes once I was diagnosed, there was a notation that mentioned cardiomyopathy. But I had never known that. I had never told a doctor that in my life. I'd always said, my dad smoked and drank and, died of a heart attack. I haven't eaten red meat since I was a teenager, exercise every day, never smoked. So I didn't think that I was at risk, that it could possibly happen to me. So I cover the NFL and the NBA, and so when the NBA season ends, I usually crash. I'm exhausted. I take a week off and I don't get off the couch. Well, the summer before I was diagnosed, the exhaustion just kept going.
That fatigue, it knocks you out.
It never got better, and I kept thinking, one, am I getting weak? Is this me being a baby, being a wimp? Is this getting older? I was approaching 40. Is that what 40 does to you? My gosh.
Okay, with me looking at 60, I want to smack you right now, okay?
These are the thoughts that were going through my head, though. I was trying to think and come up with a reason why I would be so tired. I was sleeping 12, 13 hours a day. I slept through a baby shower I was supposed to host. I slept through numerous engagements. I was setting 6, 7 alarms. And as the summer went on, my symptoms progressed, and I actually went to 2 different doctors. One of them said, you're low in vitamin B and D, and that's what happens when you approach 40. Another one took a chest x-ray and said, it's probably your asthma exacerbating your breathing issues because of allergies, seasonal, whatnot. So to me, I had checked it out. I had been proactive. I was told there was nothing wrong with me. So I needed to get my butt in gear and toughen up in my mind.
You never even thought to go to a cardiologist?
Never. Never crossed my mind. Never.
So when you were actually diagnosed with heart disease, because I remember that moment for me, what was the first thing you thought?
They've mixed up my chart with someone else's. It couldn't possibly be correct. Certainly I had symptoms that, as I said, progressed all summer, from the fatigue to having to sleep in a sitting up position because I couldn't catch my breath. I'd wake up at night as if I just sprinted. My ankles were starting to swell, and the weekend I was diagnosed, the swelling had actually come all the way up to my waist, so much so that I was working an NFL game, Vikings at Panthers in Charlotte, North Carolina. And the thing is, I walked 5 miles that day, and I think that was one of the things that blew me away. I didn't think if I had heart disease I would be able to do that. That was another reason I thought, well, the doctors must be wrong. They must have misdiagnosed something. But sure enough, they ended up not letting me go home. I was in cardiac intensive care for a week. They ended up telling me I had dilated cardiomyopathy, which means your heart has stretched out. It was the left side of my heart. So my heart was taking in blood, but not pumping it out correctly. And the way they explained it to me is, if you think of your heart like a rubber band that pumps, it was not pumping the blood to my body, and that's why I was so short of breath. That's why my lower extremities were starting to swell.
That's why you were so tired.
That's why I was so tired. When I was diagnosed, my heart was pumping at 16% capacity.
So you had to really get your little butt in gear and actually start to think about your health as a front burner issue for you.
It obviously was surreal. They ended up sending in a psychiatrist. They told me I wasn't accepting the diagnosis. It's a hard thing to wrap your head around.
Yeah, excuse me. I know exactly what you mean. You don't. I ran away and put my head in the sand, literally. I ran to the Caribbean.
You got to do what you have to do to cope.
Yeah, you want to know why? Because they don't have heart disease there. They have shirtless men and cocktails.
Sign me up.
Okay, and that's what I decided to do. So, Jen, what's the one thing you wish you knew then at the time of the diagnosis that you now know?
I have to tell you 2 things. First of all, we have to be our own best advocates. We have to trust our bodies, and when we feel like something's wrong, we have to keep searching for answers. And being a female in the sports world, I didn't want to show weakness. I didn't want anything to be wrong. Who wants something to be wrong? But you have to be realistic. Secondly, I wish I had understood the different types of heart disease and the amazing research and advancements we've made in medication. So when I was diagnosed, I was told there are basically 3 outcomes, and it's about a 33% chance for any of the 3. 1, you have 5 years to live. 2, you need a heart transplant. 3, there are some new medications that help. The good thing for you, you're young and you're in shape, so that's a positive for the medication working. The bad thing is you let your heart get all the way down to 16%. So for it to come all the way back, that's a tough road. So I ended up going on the heart transplant list for 2.5 years. I wore a life vest and a defibrillator for 2 years in case my heart stopped while I was working. And it turns out the medicine worked for me. It's an amazing success story. And now my life is pretty much normal. I take a handful of pills at night, a handful of pills in the morning. The outcome is so different than my father and uncle, who there were no options.
You were aggressive to try to be your own advocate. You had to at that point.
You have to. Absolutely.
You know, it's so interesting to hear you say that, because I had elective open heart surgery for all practical purposes. I didn't have a heart attack like you. Shortness of breath, lightheaded, extreme fatigue, heart palpitations that sometimes would knock me off my feet. But I started to then decide, hey, I've got to be an advocate for other women once I had a story to tell. Is that why you have decided to step out there?
Absolutely. I don't want other people to be, one, as ignorant as I was, and number two, I think we have to talk about it to take away the stigma, especially for women, about stepping up and taking care of ourselves.
Yes.
Because for me, again, I didn't want to show weakness. I was afraid I would be fired from my job. I was afraid people would say, you know what, you don't know if your heart's going to be okay. You just need to stay home and rest. We're going to replace you. Or I'm not a mother, but I know so many moms who are caregivers, and they always put everybody else first before them. So it is imperative that you're proactive, that you step up, and that we erase the stigmas around this so that women do seek treatment, seek it early, because again, that is so important for medication. Give it the best chance to be effective that we can. And be your own best advocate. Trust your body.
So I'm going to ask you the obvious. If you could give some advice to women who are facing cardiovascular disease, what would that be? And then also for women who want to reduce their risk for cardiovascular disease.
If you are diagnosed, first and foremost, it's not an automatic death sentence.
Not at all.
And unfortunately, the first doctor I had was really erring on the side of, 5-year life expectancy. And it was frightening, it was terrifying. And I'm glad I sought out other opinions and ended up finding a cardiologist who worked with me and understood what I needed. One thing they wanted me to do was 6 months of bed rest. They call it heart remodeling, shrinking the heart. And the medication has the best chance to remodel the heart if your heart is not working hard. But I knew if I sat in a bed in a room for 6 months staring at 4 white walls and a ceiling, I'd convince myself I was sick. And if I only had 5 years left to live,
the last thing you want to do,
I sure as heck was not wasting 6 months of it in bed.
Tell it.
Absolutely not. So I found a cardiologist that understood and worked with me. That's why I wore the life vest, so I could have somewhat of a normal routine, and that was very important to me. So please know, if you are diagnosed, it's not a death sentence automatically by any stretch. Medicine has come so far, and there are so many options, and the mental component to me was huge in my healing. You've got to stay positive, and everybody has a different way to do that, but you have to find your comfort zone and what inspires and keeps your head in the game. And then as far as reducing risk, look, we got to do it, folks. You have to eat right. You have to exercise. We have to be realistic with ourselves about smoking and the effects of bad habits. It is so worth it. Nobody wants to cut their life short. I promise you, when you get that possibility, when somebody tells you you might have 5 years left on this earth, all of a sudden, all that stuff that you thought was worth it before, you realize how stupid and frivolous it was.
Well, I like to say, eat less, move more, don't smoke.
Girlfriend?
That's the stuff, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so a lot of people might think that this was an intense conversation because you really have shared the story of survival and surviving and thriving, as I like to say. So let's lighten it up a little bit. Do you mind?
Oh, not at all.
Some real quick questions here, okay? We're going to do rapid fire.
Yep.
Okay? What's the number one thing you think you missed while you were going through the heart struggle?
Salt. I have a Louisiana girl. I like spicy food. If it doesn't have flavor, I don't want to eat it because it has to taste good.
So good.
Yes. And so the salt, no crawfish, no shrimp. It was horrible. How about you?
Bacon. I'm a Southern girl also. This is bad, right? That's what I missed, 100%. All right, I'm going to do one more. Red wine or dark chocolate?
Red wine, no question. Absolutely. And that was even before the heart stuff.
So I'm going to have to go red wine also.
All right.
I can't have the chocolate, too much sugar, okay? And we both need to reduce that wine.
Probably.
Yeah, we definitely do. Girl, it is a wonderful, wonderful experience having you as my heart sister. I'm really happy. I'm happy that I have a partner in this.
Absolutely.
Not happy that you had to go through it, but happy that you are helping other women who are going to have to take that step. So thank you.
We have to do our part. Thank you for being such an inspiration.
Well, we are sisters, honey. And next up, I'm going to have to hand it on back to my other sister, Nancy Brown. And she is going to welcome the next part of our program, Heart Association's President-elect Dr. Michelle Albert and Dr. Jess Mega, Chief Medical Officer of Verily. We will be back in just a moment.
Did you know that heart disease is the #1 killer of women? I didn't, until it happened to me.
All women need to know that cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women. Know your family history and talk to your doctor about heart disease.
Awareness may make the difference between life and death.
Thank you, Star and Jen, again, for that amazing and inspirational discussion. Your voice is so important as we think about women everywhere, both those who are struggling with heart disease and those who are aiming to live a healthier life. And when I think of that discussion, to me, I think of the power of science and research, but also the power of storytelling so that others can see themselves in the story. And I'm so happy to be here again with Dr. Jessica Mega, Dr. Michelle Albert. Tell us what you thought when you were listening to Jen tell her story. Michelle, can I start with you?
So I thought that about gratitude, and that we are so grateful to have you here, be present with us today, to be able to tell your story. I also thought that it is so important for women and men, as a matter of fact, to understand that their family histories are powerful templates for what will also happen to us. And being educated about your family history is really, really important, but also taking action on the family history is also important. Also having access, actually. So you did have access, and so many in the world don't have access. So gratitude on one hand, but also we have so much more work to do for all.
Jess?
I was struck by two things. I was struck by the humanity of your story and also the humility that we need as we encounter different conditions. On the humanity side, I can just imagine what it must have been like, and you mentioned getting a diagnosis, and all of a sudden, all of the frivolous things in our lives just don't seem as relevant. And it's also incredibly scary. So the connection between the mind and the heart and the whole body is so apparent, and I'm just so thankful that you were doing so well. On the humility side, I think a lot of times medically, we think that someone's healthy until they're sick, but there's really a continuum, and each person has their own journey. You talked about your family history, your own genetic predisposition, but there are also life choices along the way, your exercise, where you live, how you get access to care, and we have to have the humility to understand that everyone has their own journey, everyone has their own precise health plan.
Thank you both. It's wonderful to think that both Jen and Star really are products of amazing advancements in scientific research over many, many years. And part of what we want to talk about today, Drs. Albert and Mega, is the power of research and why research is so important and the power of women participating in research in particular. Michelle, let me start with you. You are a trailblazing cardiologist, epidemiologist, and a person who has devoted her entire career to helping women and disadvantaged populations have a better chance in life because of the research you do. Could you talk a little bit about why research into women's heart health and research into disadvantaged populations is so important?
Yeah, so for one, I'll just start with my background because I think storytelling is important. I grew up in an environment that was impoverished, and I saw the relationship between health and socioeconomics at a very early age, and it laid an impression on me. And I also was interested in science, and that marrying of the science part and the socioeconomic part has guided my passions to date. So when I devote my research towards focus on disadvantaged, it comes from a place that is very primordial and something I'm very passionate about. As it relates to women, you know, we are, the health of the woman is the health of the world, basically. And so we have to pay attention to the health of a woman, or else we're not going to be paying attention to the health of all of us. Those are my reasons.
Yeah, very powerful reasons. And when we think about women in particular, what are 2 or 3 messages you would give to women about taking care of their heart health?
Right, so I would say, first of all, listen to your body. You know, people can tell you all different things that you need to do. Certainly you need to lose weight, not smoke, get enough sleep. But only you can really understand the things that are true to improving your health. I would say for some women, that might be improving their sleep patterns. For others, it might be becoming more physically active and losing weight. For others, for sure, everyone should stop smoking. But most importantly, I think you have to be tuned into your own body. And once you're tuned into your own body, and understanding that you need to take action for you, that's when you're going to take action. Because you can, I think most of the population knows what they need to do to be healthy, but most people won't do those things unless they feel internally motivated to do them.
Yeah, and sometimes life events, you know, whether they are tragic or disastrous life events or opportunities, you know, give people motivation to focus on their health. What are some of the trends you're seeing in women's heart health?
Yeah, so unfortunately, some of those trends are not so, I would say, exciting. I would say a couple of things. The first is that the awareness, women's awareness of heart disease is dropping over time. There's been almost a 65% drop in heart disease awareness among women over the last decade. And this is especially true in younger women, so women between the ages of 25 to 34 years old. So that's not great. And also for younger women, there's a higher increasing risk of heart attacks and increased prevalence of heart attacks. So there needs to be more in terms of educating women about their heart risk, especially younger women who think they're immune. So that's not a great trend. Another not so great trend pertains to what's happened with COVID. Anxiety, depression, mental health, increases in suicides, actually both in men and women have gone up. Those are not so great trends. There's also the issue of the maternal mortality crisis among, particularly among African American women and Native American women, which is about 3 to 4 times higher than in white women, for example. There's also decrease in blood pressure control over the last several years, and certainly exacerbated by COVID, and particularly more decreasing control among women, young women in particular, and in the Hispanic population and Asian populations. So these are not trends that are great, but we can act on them, right? We need to know that they're happening and take steps. And we as physicians and educators and heart advocates need to get these messages out to women so that women can take the appropriate action to make a difference in their lives.
Thank you, Michelle. We're going to come back and talk about a study that we're doing that involves young women in just a minute, but let me ask you one other question. You mentioned maternal mortality. Another issue that perhaps women aren't aware of is how the changes in your body as you age increase or change your risk for heart disease. Tell us a little bit about that, and what should women as they age be thinking of?
Absolutely. So, you know, pre-pregnancy, pregnancy, or even if you've never been pregnant, and moving into older ages in your life, all affect what disease processes you'll have over time. Get connected with a cardiologist if need be. If you have hypertension going into pregnancy. Not wait for your primary care doctor to say go see a cardiologist. Ask your OB to put you in contact with a cardiologist. After one has conceived, especially if you've developed hypertension in pregnancy, preeclampsia, eclampsia, which are conditions that happen to women in pregnancy that are associated with kidney failure or strokes or disease in brain conditions. Make sure that you get follow-up with a cardiologist. Women, especially African American women, Asian women, post-pregnancy can develop cardiomyopathies. And they have a higher risk of developing cardiomyopathy. So there's this fourth trimester, which is the year after giving birth, which is really important because that is the time frame when the heart can get larger, you retain fluids, all the symptoms that you mentioned, Jen, that can become pretty important. So having follow-up. And then menopausal time frame occurs. You need to know your heart numbers. You need to make sure that you understand that hypertension, diabetes, being overweight, smoking are all things that will increase your risk of having heart attacks and strokes. You need to know that throughout your life, but you need to take action about those things at that time.
Thank you, Michelle. You know, it seems so overwhelming when we think about all of the things that can go wrong, but there's so many things that can go right. And that's why I'm so excited always to talk about the wonderful partnership between the American Heart Association and Verily when we created Research Goes Red. And Jess, I remember sitting in a meeting room at Verily's headquarters on the tables that you could write on, the whiteboard tables,
Sure.
and thinking about how could we solve this problem of women being underrepresented in research and the lack of information really that allows these problems not to be so prominent. And out of that discussion came Research Goes Red. Tell us about Research Goes Red, why it's important, and what it means to you as a scientist and clinician.
So I distinctly remember that moment, and the partnership with the American Heart Association has been so important to us. At Verily, as you know, we sit at the intersection of technology, life science, and healthcare. And we've been thinking about all the themes we talked about this morning. How do you precisely understand people's health journeys, whether it's on the care side or on the research side? And we, as you know, had been spending several years building a platform for exactly that reason. How do we accelerate research so we can get better care? And the features of the platform allow us to reach out directly to individuals, engage them, have a more seamless experience, because we know that we are so underrepresented, particularly when it comes to women and research. So Nancy and I remember chatting, and we decided that together, through the power of the American Heart Association and the work we were doing at Verily, we should launch Research Goes Red. And there are three things to me that were most relevant. One is women actually raised their hand all across the country. Research was no longer confined to people just living in a certain geography around one center. So that was phenomenal to see. The second thing is we were actually able to ask women what was interesting to them. We were changing the paradigm. We were engaging individuals and researchers to come up with questions together. And in fact, the one that they came up with was interest in weight. And we've actually now, the third piece is we've launched that study and it's fully enrolled. So this idea of being able to democratize research so that we have a much fuller picture has just been phenomenal to see. So I look so fondly on the work we do. Obviously there's more to do, but this is the start to understanding the conditions we talked about this morning, like cardiomyopathy and others.
Yeah. And you know, the other thing that to me has been such a great feature of Research Goes Red is the real-time insights we can get from women on issues through surveys. Could you tell us a little bit about the power of women speaking up to share their voice through programs like Research Goes Red?
The real-time nature of this has changed the static idea of you do research, you fill out a form, it goes into a closet. What happens now is we ask the women, we said, you're interested in weight? Great, we'll do a study. And even during the pandemic, because we were using the tools and technologies, we were able to link the participants and researchers. And the study continued on, again, despite all of the challenges that we have. The other real-time factor, as Nancy mentioned earlier, is in real time, the participants are telling us we need to see more engagement. So we launched a program with millennial women. and women who are underrepresented, because we know that including people of different ages, ethnicities, geographies are important. And I think the last real-time theme, I would say, is the idea that we have a scientific advisory committee that is getting real-time insights from the participants. And they're lighting up, and they're saying, wow, there's so much more we could do. So this real-time nature, it's going to accelerate and hopefully get therapies out even quicker. Again, we're so thankful that the medicines work, but we all know someone out there today who is suffering with an illness where we don't have a therapy. So this real-time, accelerated, democratized way of doing research is really the future.
It sure is. And boy, it's been incredible. And Michelle, you probably have some comments about Research Goes Red. You're part of the Scientific Advisory Board.
I certainly do. And I think that it's come a long way because of this need to actually ensure that disadvantaged populations and different racial and ethnic groups get involved in the research. And it's very heartwarming to see that growing over time in Research Goes Red. And I think that that's going to be very important in ensuring that when recommendations are made, that those recommendations are inclusive. Certainly, I think one potential issue going down the road is that not everybody has access to technology, right? And so not having the access to technology will be an ongoing challenge, I think, as one works through what is going on in Research Goes Red. But I think that overall there are a lot of great minds on this and a lot of opportunity for learning new science and giving new recommendations over time. So really excited about what you're doing.
Thank you, Michelle. Jess, a question for you. What gives you hope about women, heart disease, heart health? What inspiration or hope could you give our viewers today?
When I think about where we were, I am inspired that we do have medicines and we have come a long way. But the piece that gives me hope is that we now have the ability to start to look more deeply. We don't just publish the results of a top-line study and say, the average reduction in cardiovascular disease with the medicine is 25%. That's not good enough. We need to understand more of the genetic mechanisms, more of the personal mechanisms, and we just didn't have the tools before. It was too complicated. The data was too big. But now, as it turns out, we are able to use some of this complex interplay of what's happening at the individual level and what's happening in a population. And if we do this right and we accelerate this kind of work, we'll have better medicines, better devices, better tools, and even better care pathways. And so that's what gives me hope, and that's why I love being here with you all today and why I love the work that I do every day.
Michelle, what gives you hope?
What gives me hope is actually the focus in medicine on social determinants of health as an integral part of what needs to be incorporated in our work. Traditionally, Jess mentioned genetics. Traditionally, a lot of the focus has been on genetics. And I think that that interplay that you mentioned of doing work at the crossroads of understanding the drivers and the context of disease is really, really important in really making progress in medicine that is democratized, to use your terminology. And so that gives me hope, the fact that social determinants are being considered major drivers. They always have been, but now it's being taken a lot more seriously.
Now they're getting the attention they deserve. And I'll say what gives me hope is having two amazing leaders like Dr. Jessica Mega and Dr. Michelle Albert sitting at the forefront of this partnership between the American Heart Association and Verily and Research Goes Red. All women everywhere are better because of the two of you and so many like you. Thank you both so much. And Star, I'm going to turn it back to you because I hear we're now going to have some fun. You have some secret questions, which we all have been dying to know what they are, but no one will tell us. So,
this is my time to have some fun here. You better believe it with these women. And during American Heart Month, we're asking women all over to reclaim their rhythm. Now, you know I can do that one in my sleep, right? You're going to reclaim your rhythm with Go Red for Women. And of course, I am joined by Nancy Brown, who is CEO of the American Heart Association and my sister from another mister, Dr. Michelle Albert, cardiologist and our president-elect of the American Heart Association, my heart sister here, Jen Hale, Fox Sports NFL sideline reporter and a survivor and thriver like me, and of course, Dr. Jess Mega, co-founder and chief medical and scientific officer at Verily, better known as the smart ones around this room here. My hope is that we'll share some insight and some sisterly moments on some of the things that we've learned over the past couple of years and what you're most hopeful for the future. All right, so let me jump right in. Each one of us today is in some way connected to our passion for women's heart health, which includes some of the things we practice ourselves and what we encourage others to practice. More, do you practice what you preach kind of thing. So what is your absolute tip for living a healthy life, the one that you practice without fail? And I'm going to go to Dr. Michelle first.
So I find it really important to prepare for bedtime in order to be able to get adequate sleep, being that that is something that I've struggled with over time, because it's upstream to high blood pressure, it's upstream to being obese, and so for me, it's something that is very sacred. I don't always achieve what I want to achieve in that regard, but certainly the tip is make sure that you're not in front of your screens. You're making sure that you create some space, mindfulness space between when you fall asleep and stopping work.
Yes, ma'am. That's a good one. Dr. Jess, what do you have?
I absolutely love walking and hiking, and I will take any opportunity to be outside and to see the world. And sometimes we have the traditional notion of hiking in the forest and the sun's out, and that's wonderful, but we can walk everywhere. It's something that's accessible to people. And for me, we spend so much time sitting in front of Zoom calls, and this is the life we live right now. But getting out and moving our body, having our heart pump, it's been something that has kept me entirely grounded, especially over the last year and a half.
Wow, that's a good one. Walking, a good hint for walking is walking through the mall. Walking through the mall is always without your credit card. You know, if you think about the amount of time we walk through the malls when we're shopping, you get your exercise on that way, okay? Just a little hint from Star. What about you, Jen? What's your one tip?
It's not one I've mastered, but it's a constant goal for me, and that's balance. Because sometimes we set these goals, we put these expectations on ourselves, and we don't meet them, and so therefore we quit. You're not going to be able to do everything perfectly, but make small strides, make small steps, work hard, play hard. If you're committed to exercise, sometimes I'm in 3 cities in one day. I can't spend an hour in the gym that day, but I can take 5 minutes and stretch out before I go to bed. Some sort of balance in my life every day, even if it isn't the full goal that I want to accomplish. If it's some segment of my goal, it keeps it fresh on my mind and keeps it part of my routine.
Fair enough. All right, Nancy.
Hydration, water. I have learned over time the power of water in feeling great. So I drink at least 8 glasses of water a day. I also drink about 8 cups of coffee a day. So that's balance. If I'm going to be very honest about my downfalls. But there's something about water. You feel like a daisy that has opened. So hydration is my without fail.
You know, it's interesting that you said balance. I say integration.
Okay.
And for me, the thing that I had to integrate the most was my physical activity. And the way I do it, you see I'm connected at the hip with this iPad. I make my exercise, it has its own section in my calendar. It's done like meetings. It has its own color, and so it's color coordinated with all of my meetings. When I have to do a meeting for a television show, that's one color. When I'm doing a meeting in Washington, that's another color. And then my exercise is another meeting for me. So I have prioritized it the same way I prioritize all my other work. And once I started to do that, I had appointments. So you couldn't put anything in that space. So all of the different people who have control of my calendar, they know that that space is taken because that exercise is just as important as any other meeting. So that has really, really worked for me, and I've been blessed because of it. Okay, Let me ask the next question. Okay, so we said that this February, we are going to reclaim our rhythm with Go Red for Women. So you pointed out earlier, Jen, that women tend to prioritize other people's health over our own health, even though we know we're supposed to put on our own oxygen mask first before we try to help other people. They
Would
tell
that
us
ever really
this.
happen, though?
Right, exactly. You're going to always help your kid, your husband, your spouse, your partner. Nancy, your dog. We're going to always do the dog first.
All three of them.
Exactly. You know what I mean? But what I'm just thinking to myself is sometimes we just have to do some simple tasks. So what is the way you are reclaiming your rhythm? Okay. So I want you to think about that for a second. What is it that you are doing to reclaim your rhythm? Jess, will you start?
Oh, I'm happy to. So my friends fill my soul. And I think you just talked about your calendar a minute ago. And everything is scheduled, but I have been very deliberate in connecting with those who I care so deeply about. And it's just something we have to make a priority to do. Think about how much fun we're having together. We have to reach out to one another. And it reminds me, it's not just the people who maybe I've known for years, but it's even the moments where you see someone at the store. You mentioned going to the mall. Let's say hi to one another. And so that to me is how I try to keep my balance.
Good. Dr. Michelle?
Mine is a little bit more introspective. I wake up in the morning and I go to scripture. And I utilize that time as just really quiet time to hunker down and focus to set the tone for the rest of the day. And I keep going back during the day to the stuff that I've read and I leaned in on in the morning. And so for me, that's what I do. And accelerated that actually in the last 2 years as well, even more so.
That's magnificent. Nancy?
Every evening when I'm at home and not on the road, usually about 10:30 or 11 o'clock, I go for a walk. Now my neighbors think I'm nuts because sometimes I have this big long winter coat that I wear, but I walk all around the neighborhood to clear my mind because there's so many things to think about in life. There's family, friends, work, hobbies, spouses, etc. And that's just my time. No one's calling me, no one's texting me because I don't take my phone with me. And I just cleanse the mind and the soul every night.
That's wonderful.
And you don't have mountain lions like we do here.
We have coyotes. Well, we have
Mountain
coyotes.
lions
We
fight.
have coyotes, and I have run across them. So I also carry this dorky big flashlight because I can make sure to look for coyotes.
That's right. Being forewarned is forearmed,
Exactly.
girlfriend.
Exactly.
Okay, what about you?
Practicing gratitude. I know this is going to sound very strange. The 2.5 years where I didn't know if I had a 5-year life expectancy, if I was going to need a transplant, if the medicine was going to work. It was some of the hardest and scariest moments of my life, but it was also some of the happiest because I was so grateful for all the little things that I took for granted before. Getting to go to work and see my coworkers, it made me think I might not be able to do this in a few years. This might be my last season. And I had such a better outlook on life. If somebody cut me off and took my parking spot, girl, that didn't matter. You weren't going to spoil my day
100%.
at all. So trying to keep that positive, grateful mindset because it's so easy to lose in the shuffle.
I really am going to piggyback on that. And I know this sounds hokey. I reclaim my rhythm by allowing myself to be vulnerable and letting somebody else take care of me. It's okay. It really is.
It's hard though.
It's very difficult. I have the most wonderful husband. He is sweet and kind and loving, and he really likes to take care of me. And I like him to take care of me. We dance, we smile, we laugh, we speak to each other with loving language, never mean language. Even when we are annoyed with each other, it's honey or baby or love. He often says "loca," which means "you crazy girl," but he says it with love, and I love that. That is my way of just reclaiming and saying, you know what, I don't have to always be the one in charge. I don't have to always have the answer. I can depend on somebody else, and he's my partner. And so that's been a wonderful, wonderful thing for me, an absolutely wonderful thing.
Life goals.
Yes. Yeah, we're going to work on that for you, honey. So, in keeping with this theme, reclaiming our rhythm, we know that music is the universal connector that brings people together. So, for this year's Real Women's Class of Survivors, we want them to reclaim their rhythm also. So, we asked each one of them to share with us their survivor anthem. And since you're my heart sister and we're survivors, we're going to talk about what song inspires you. I'm going to let y'all think for a second. What's your survivor anthem? And I can answer that right out the box. It is Living My Life Like It's Golden by Jill Scott. I am living my life like it's golden. Every single minute is precious. Every opportunity to sing out loud and shout to the world that I am here and I am healthy, I'm going to take it. I'm going to live my life like it's golden.
I love that. Mine would be Kelly Clarkson's Stronger.
Oh, yeah.
The lyric says, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I am certainly a testament and living example of that, that's for sure. I love that song. I listened to it a ton when I was going through my journey.
I love that. Nancy, what about you?
You know, I love classical music, so I'm not singing out loud. I come from a family of musicians, and probably Chariots of Fire gives me, you know, great inspiration and gets me smiling and feeling great.
I love it. Yes, ma'am.
I love Halo by Beyonce.
Oh,
I'm a big
yes.
Queen Bee fan, so it just sends chills down my spine. It makes me feel enveloped and feeling like angels are looking over you.
Yes.
Amazing choice.
Yes.
I would say You Are My Sunshine. And some people interpret it as a happy song, some people as a sad song, but my mom sang it to me when I was growing up, and now I sing it to my children.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And there's the connectivity that makes me smile.
That's wonderful. That is a great memory. So we all now have some new songs to put in our playlist and our repertoire, and I'm going to add one last one. I am titanium, you all. We are stronger than we think we are. So I'll have one last question in this little segment. What's the greatest thing you hope to accomplish by the end of 2022? And I'm going to bring it back around this way. So Jess, you get us started.
Well, I'll start with the professional front and then personal. On the professional front, I think we're just, as you heard earlier, on the cusp of changing the paradigm of research and getting the best therapies into the hands of patients. And it's incredibly motivating. On the personal note, I think we continue to live in an incredibly complicated time, navigating the world. And I am committed to making sure I stay connected at work, connected to my friends, and connected to the world. So lots to do in 2022, but I'm excited about the year.
Yes. Dr. Shell?
So for me, in one of my other roles, I'm admissions dean for UCSF School of Medicine. And that's another one of my passions. And I would just hope to be able to continue to recruit a diverse class of students who will go on to address the unmet needs in healthcare. So that's the professional part. For me, that's really, really important. I would say on a personal level, just to continue to work on a health journey and to do all the things that I advise my patients to do. That's what I would hope.
So Dr. Shell, you're going to be walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Well, I try to walk the walk already, but we are only human.
Yes, indeed.
And there are parts of our lives that work better than others. And so I think we just need to admit that and be more human about that.
Very much so. And be sisters in helping each other. Yes.
Absolutely.
All right, Nancy.
My turn. Okay, on a professional front, I would say at the American Heart Association, we are doing incredible work in advocacy, in science, in our communities to help connect people to the best possible opportunity to have health and well-being. And, I spend every day of my life relentlessly pursuing that goal, and I will continue to do that this year. On a personal front, I love what Jess is saying, and I also have a very similar commitment. You know, I try to make sure to call my sisters so much more than I called them a year ago, and my girlfriends from growing up, my family, my husband's mom, you know, the whole gamut, and making sure that I stay connected to people. It really is nourishing of the soul.
That's wonderful. Okay, you can lock it down.
Professionally, so I've done sideline reporting for 11 years now for the NFL on Fox, but professionally I'm going to start doing some play-by-play for the WNBA this year, and I'm super excited to be moving into a larger role, and especially to be doing it with a women's sport. So I'm fired up about that professionally. Personally, I have a foundation called SidelinePass.org if anybody has a moment to check it out, and we focus on educating girls in the New Orleans area at the elementary and high school level, because we found with the education system, they're not prepared for college. They can't take advantage of all the resources that are at the collegiate level. So giving them that foundation. And with COVID, so much of that got derailed. So personally hoping to get that all back on track and get our mentoring programs up and running again.
Look at you. Okay, I asked you what you're going to do for yourself, and you talked about what you're doing for others, and I love that. And that is for yourself. So I can sense that it just feeds your spirit.
It gives me so much energy and purpose.
What a blessing that is. I guess for me, I'm going to enjoy 2022. I have so many new and wonderful things that are happening in my life, from going back on daytime television for the first time in a long time, which is going to be fun, and to taking on this wonderfully unique and humbling opportunity that the president has just given me to chair one of his commissions that's really focused on celebrating our diversity and memorializing those who came before us and suffered and sacrificed. It's my life's work to be able to give back in this way, and so I'm actually going to enjoy 2022. I'm going to stop myself from not seeing this whole big picture and just embracing every new opportunity. I'm going to and to be honest with you, I'm going to lose 10 pounds. You want to know why? Because TV adds 10 pounds. And
yes, it does.
And I'm not going to look like that, not going back. I'm sorry. That's just not going to work. You have to be honest. Ladies, it has been like the most amazing time getting to know all of you. Nancy and I have had the unique opportunity to talk to women who are a part of the American Heart Association's family, because, you know, once you are here, either as a survivor, a thriver, a doctor, a researcher, you are a part of the family permanently. And all of you have really just contributed in so many ways as representatives of organizations, people who are researchers or clinicians. We could not have done this without you, and it has just been my pleasure and my honor to sit with you. And I know that the men and women who have been listening today have really focused their attention on heart health. For some reason, heart health, it makes me smile because it tells me that I'm here. I'm still here. And I want everybody out there within the sound of my voice to know that you can be a survivor and a thriver. And heart health is what's going to give you that hope. And when you have hope, that's all you need. Hope and health. I'm going to turn it back over to my dear sister and friend, Nancy, to close us out. But thank you again, sister, for allowing me to be such a part of the American Heart Association. It wakes me up in the morning, and it's the thing that gives me rest at night.
Thank you, Star. And you seriously have changed the face of our focus on women and heart disease, as you have shared so personally your journey with us over so many years. And Jen, we're so honored to have you as part of the family. It is sort of like Hotel California. Once you're in, you don't leave. So welcome in. We're thrilled to have you. Thank you for sharing your story today. Star, always thank you for facilitating such an amazing discussion. Doctors Michelle Albert and Jessica Mega, thank you for your incredible leadership. I think women everywhere should feel so comforted to know that you're thinking about our health and well-being every single day. And to all of you, thank you for listening. Please join us on this journey to help all women everywhere understand that heart disease is their greatest health threat. Join Research Goes Red, participate in Go Red for Women, and you can get more information by checking out all of our resources at heart.org. Have a great day.
I'm reclaiming my rhythm by living unapologetically. I'm reclaiming my rhythm by living for me.
I was kind of thrown into this situation very spontaneously, and you can either sink or swim. I've reclaimed my rhythm by reclaiming my life.
Living in the moment is what makes me happy, taking care of my kids and just enjoy it.
Just being able to move again, being able to get up and dance again, not, being stuck in this one gray area, but allowing myself to kind of break free.
I have a stroke recovery mix, and I know every song to it, and I listen to it every day. And sometimes you just need to dance.